Paris Saint Germain have employed some of the biggest stars in world football over the years. Neymar, Zlatan, Messi, Mbappe, the list goes on. The Parisians have dominated domestically for around a decade now, winning 27 trophies since 2013, yet one piece of silverware has always eluded them. Welcome to Halftime Football, where today I'll be explaining exactly why PSG never have and never will win the Champions League, at least not in the near future. Now I'll start off with undoubtedly the biggest factor of all over the past years, their squads. Now I'm not going to sit here and call the likes of Marco Verratti and Angel Di Maria overrated frauds, but what I will say is that every single PSG squad over the past 10 years has had a complete lack of winning personalities and has been filled with mercenaries. They've never had a single player like a Cristiano Ronaldo or a Steven Gerrard who's going to take the reins when things aren't going their way, and that makes you seriously question the motivation of those players. A lot of them strut around like they really couldn't care less half the time, as if they've only decided to take their place in a league which is more or less a monopoly without challenge because they're raking hundreds of thousands of pounds every week. Having one or two of those characters who are basically lazy and unmotivated for the club would be okay, but when your squad is riddled with the likes of Neymar, Mauro Icardi, Angel Di Maria, etc., the mentality will undoubtedly transfer to the rest of the team in some shape or form. When mercenaries rule a team, it's a recipe for disaster in terms of mentality. Those players will also play for themselves, and when you have a group of individuals and not a team, you'll never be able to compete on the biggest stage. A prime example of this is up front. You've got Kylian Mbappe and Neymar, who are undoubtedly two of the most selfish players at the top level and are two players who always want themselves to be the centrepiece. This creates teamwork issues with Leo Messi, the guy who's undoubtedly the best out of the three, and he won't be able to perform at his peak level because the other two are always trying to make things happen by themselves. Having multiple selfish personalities, especially in an attacking sense, never bodes well. Neymar, Messi and Mbappe will always have a grudge on the pitch because it's as if they're competing against each other, and that will seriously affect both team morale and performance. When you look at what has worked or what does work in some of the most successful sides in the world, like Bayern, it's cohesiveness, that ability to work as a team. There's rarely ever a single man in those squads who try hog all the spotlight, and if there are, they're kicked out of the team pretty quickly. Look how fast Pep Guardiola binned Zlatan Ibrahimovic at Barca. PSG simply can't have a fluid and free-flowing setup because the majority of the players they employ don't seem to share the common goal of winning, which will create serious problems when trying to win the Champions League. And when you mix mercenaries with a manager who has zero authority, it's going to end horribly. Now I'm just going to remind you that PSG decided a good replacement for Thomas Tuchel was Mauricio Pochettino in early 2021. Do they not realise how stupid that employment was relative to the squad PSG have? PSG's squad is full of guys who play for themselves, as I said. And when you mix that with a man who has poor tactical knowledge, a man who's a known bottler, and a man who's never won trophies despite having a hard-working, cohesive machine at his disposal at Spurs, it's never gonna work. Honestly, they've had two good managers in the past 10 years, and the hierarchy of the club completely screwed them over in terms of playing squad. Carlo Ancelotti said he lost passion at the club, whereas Thomas Tuchel was sacked and he compared being PSG's manager to being a politician, and it wouldn't be far-fetched to assume that those comments came as a result of both the squads they were graced with respectively. The Tuchel decision is still the most baffling to me. How are you going to sack him when he got you to your first ever Champions League final, which is considered the holy grail for you? On top of that, Tuchel's the only manager they've had so far that has actually stood up to the players who tried to take power over him, with the German famously dropping Mbappe and Neymar on several occasions. Pochettino has none of that authority, and even if he did, he doesn't have the reputation to back it up. I don't care about their performance against Real Madrid the other day. They will never win the Champions League with Poch in charge. Essentially, a major problem are the managerial appointments PSG make, but this is largely because their squad is full of selfish and arrogant personalities. And who signs those personalities? Mostly Leonardo. You know, the guy who's branded as an egotistical, clueless idiot by the majority of the fans and apparently by some of his fellow colleagues, according to some journalists. He needs to go ASAP. He's the epitome of spending money on shiny new toys just because he can. And that's exactly why PSG sign an abundance of attackers which completely upset the balance of their squad. Also, he's a mercenary magnet. He splashes money like there's no tomorrow. What kind of player do you really think that's going to attract? They need a firm sporting director to take them forward, not Leonardo. Also, a lot of the mercenary stuff and general selfishness starts from the bottom. PSG have one regular starter who came through the youth system, which is Presnel Kimpembe, which epitomises how poor their sporting project is. A complete lack of youth development means no structure, which means very few players who emerge through that academy will actually play in the first team, which means zero footballing identity whatsoever. Teams like Barcelona were wildly successful because they had a certain way of playing through every age group which was the exact same as the first team. This meant that they brought through several players who were well drilled, disciplined, and some who'd even been playing with each other for years, so they developed a strong chemistry. PSG have absolutely none of this. The sporting project seems to be all over the place, and it severely hinders their chances of winning the big ears. Anyway, we'll move back to on-pitch matters, and the truth is about PSG's players, past and present, is that they've had absolutely zero mental fortitude. They can't deal with any sort of tension or hostility in a pressure situation, which leads them to playing like petulant children or just collapsing completely. Here are some examples. The other day, Leo Messi missed his penalty against Real Madrid. Last season, Angel Di Maria lashed out at Fernandinho when the ball was outside of play and he was sent off, and this came after Idrissa Gueye was sent off in the first leg, both of which happened after PSG started losing either game. In 2020, they showed nothing in the Champions League final, with the likes of Kylian Mbappe totally underperforming and missing easy chances. In 2017, well, we all know what happened, 6-1. In 2014, they won 3-1 against Chelsea in the first leg but lost on away goals in the second, with an 87th minute winner from Demba Ba. They have had such an insane bottle of DNA no matter what squad they've had over the years, and this has ultimately ruined their chances of doing anything when the pressure's on. You know, it's an incredibly difficult thing to overcome, being bottlers in the Champions League. I mean, it took Man City 4 seasons to get past the quarterfinals with Pep Guardiola despite absolutely dominating the league. Which actually brings me very nicely onto my next point, which is the fact that PSG will never have the opportunity to overcome that bottle of DNA while they're at the top. As I said, PSG have won 27 domestic honours in 9 years, which is an utterly ludicrous number by comparison to pretty much any other country. They've never really been challenged, and that's a massive reason PSG can't beat this fragile bottler mentality. Think about it like this. The most successful club throughout Champions League history has been Real Madrid. They're challenged by the likes of Barcelona, Atletico and Sevilla constantly. Then there's Liverpool, who are consistently challenged by City, Chelsea, United and Arsenal. Level with them are AC Milan, who are challenged by Juventus, Inter and Roma. You get my point. Those teams face must-win games every week if they want to stay in contention, and this has allowed them to develop a very strong mentality under pressure, which has evidently helped them win Champions Leagues over the years. The only recent exception I can see is Bayern, but they had a machine who worked phenomenally together, which, as I said, PSG have never had. Basically, my point is, PSG never face any pressure situations in France. Take the current day for example, they don't have to worry about a game against teams like Lyon or Marseille because they're already 13 points clear at the top. It won't affect them in the long term if they lose. This complete lack of pressure leads to the players not knowing how to deal with any tension whatsoever, and it's led to their several bottled results in the past. Don't be surprised one bit if they fumble the second leg against Real Madrid either. In terms of what they can do, well, the first thing is they'll have to bin off all their troublemakers. I'm talking about Neymar, Icardi and the like. Invest that money in youth development or signing players who are actually passionate for the game. But then again, what kind of passionate player wants to see years of their career wither away in Ligue 1? Nevertheless, they need quite a big squad overhaul. Then again, they can't really do much about the lack of competitiveness in Ligue 1, so that will always be a problem for them. And who knows, that bottle of DNA might never go away. One thing they can easily do though is sacking Maurizio Pochettino as soon as possible and bringing in someone with actual managerial credibility, which if I remember rightly is happening anyway in the summer. Nevertheless, I still think no matter what they do, PSG will most likely never win the Champions League. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought, and I'll see you next time.